Greetings, this is General of the Armies, Vincent Diaz Jr. This is a communique in response to the war in the Ukraine, addressed to Vladimir Putin with attention needed from the 7-star general of Russia that is my commander. I really wanted to get this message in with the previous messages, or the previous message of today. Right now I have one point. It's about this direct talk between Vladimir and Zelensky. I had another point that was rolling around my head after I finished the first video for the day that made me wish I had gotten it in. And then I had maybe 2 points I forgot. But right now I think this is going to be a 1-point communique. Maybe I got a story about God Boss again. Well, Zelensky has called for a direct talk, a direct meeting with Vladimir Putin. And there's just this issue in global politics with the challenge of communicating with each other where there's this language barrier. I sort of want to suggest Zelensky speak Russian instead of having to suggest Putin speak Ukrainian. Pardon me, I haven't checked. What is the Ukrainian there? I don't know what their language is. I know it's different. Anyway, basically what we've worked out is you two are supposed to do it in English. I'd like to suggest I be the mediator. And I was just going to throw out some of the basic terms. You can just sort of be my puppets. But pick from lists of stuff to get this done. I have that you say you said. You can look up before you get there. As my words are made to translate directly into your language. So there's no loss in translation. So it's direct translation. Word for word, direct translation is what I go for as best I can. As these issues are so seriously important, they're things we can never get over, we have never gotten over. At war and in life in general, when somebody says something and it's not a direct translation, it has to come across different. You can't confirm that's exactly what you said in the next language. So let's see, I've done some stuff, I've been trying to create universal language or make everybody understand English, sort of fix this thing the Tower of Babel created in such a way that I was sort of lamenting and ruing as I look back on the story of the Tower of Babel, that now that I've in some ways and noticeably overcome the Babel effect, the species has sort of collectively learned to communicate, not exactly in the system I wanted. It's almost like they genetically mutated so they have chemical tracers like ants. So that's some of my examples. I've noticed, it seems like some of them can notice I'm doing something almost by a super sense, but usually seeming like chemical. Maybe I'm eating or drinking or smoking something, and they have a special response beyond just eating and drinking and smoking. If it's one of the special things, there's one of them notices, and it's like an ant marking something up that brings all the ants. And there's just no logical explanation of how they could do this without it being at least some low level or some higher level system of communication. Maybe they're all connected by a computer network in their brain that's now innate to them by their genetic mutations, or maybe, I think this is what we're actually starting to get proof of, they have chemical tracers like ants and stuff. Okay, so let's see. I haven't actually worked up this set of language back and forth, although I've been working on a lot of sets for specific sorts of things, but I haven't actually had the one war leader against the next war leader in such a serious way. I always sort of wanted to be more calm at the table that's going to get to this sort of talk instead of this. So let's see. I have these terms that are the basis of the Constitution. I've reinterpreted the others from. This is the only one that fully fits the ethics. I don't have to change the scope statement or the ethical statements, the ideal statements of constitutions, which you really can't because we have agreements. There's just some terms I have to clearly define into more verbose terms of those terms that control them into more narrow terms. All right, here we go. Moral is never causing suffering. This is my recyclical term. I'm going to call this one back up in the terms so that it can conjugate out to its definition to make a point we have with genetics of people who are problems. Suffering is absolute objective units of non-consensual deviation from ideals. This is a special term, whittled down to a definition, usually a long essay-like speech that has to be given on how suffering isn't the same to everyone. Like, some people think what you think is suffering is joy, with this being the controlled definition, so suffering is the same to everyone in every way within the control of these terms. Okay, so here we go on to the term that gets me to recycle back to the top term, and I've had this issue with people not understanding language. I'm trying not to make this confusing. So some people think that ideals are morals. While ideals can be morals, and it has been that morals have been created from ideals and probably ideals alone, it is not that ideals are always morals. So this term, I guess it's broken up, that's okay, probably. The definition is going to be clear, is basically for ideals to be morals, they have to be moral. So I think I'm going to just conjugate it all together, and that's moral ideals are never suffering. And just allowing people, because I've tried to fix this broken language and to get through to the people with the genetics that we might not get through to, such that I'll accept them calling ideals morals as long as morals meet the definition such that morals are never suffering. All right, let's see. Now I'm pulling on my experience as judge. I'm getting communicated through my intelligence network that for this work and these recallings as judge, I'm going to remember being the military judge. I've been mostly remembering my time as a judge of civilians as a military member. I'm going to get into my military judgment memory soon. So I just sort of wanted to create some canned phrases so it can be stated and acknowledged that everyone is on the same page with why the warfare is taking place in terms appropriate for said warfare. I don't know. I got to watch my Nazi agenda points, my counselor points, my cool kid points. I like being mindful of others' feelings points. So I sort of like want a stupid statement. It's something like drugs are bad, okay? Maybe we can say like genocide is bad, or genocide is an offense. Justice offenses of justice. I'm trying to work this into normal language. I think we're used to like law offense, justice offense. Justice offenses need to be dealt justice. Justice offenses need to be corrected. All justice is justice. In order to have justice, all justice needs to be meted. I probably should have worked this over a little bit more. But I mean, the can statement is something like genocide needs to be punished when it's really genocide. I got better. I'm trying not to use punished or even these normal terms. Like, it needs to be stopped, fixed, not to occur anymore. The cause, right. The cause of these problems needs to cease to exist. This is one of my canned statements I'm starting to work over. Let's see, I'm supposed to have some sort of like a chit chat or small talk before everybody sort of checks in and things get more serious, like the hellos and stuff. All right, I got something. I'm sort of cracking it off, or I might have worked out something like, let's all agree it's good to have good leaders, or it's good when good leaders are good. Stuff like that. Maybe we could sort of just have some basic talk, chit chat or small talk in those basic terms. And I think I'm working on some of my generalities. I'm not sure outside of English, like it's good when things are good. Stuff sort of like that. Good is good. I'm sort of checking over this ideals and morality thing. I think I'm remembering some of my older stuff as decent in humorous terms. I think I'm remembering this might be all the way back to World War I and not World War II. I'm sort of confused. It might even be older. Back when we used to have superheroes at war and gods were still not mythology, they were sort of the reality of reality. We had wars like we're sort of having right now, where the media or a side just won't be clear the right way that this is military war and not some sort of thing that can be penalized by civilian justice. And we've had these issues, like maybe it is sort of coming across clear. This will determine like the final artifact. You know, there is some clearness that this is war, but still there's just so many terms like this is a fight for the police of a civilian nature because the police aren't supposed to fight war. My terms aren't fully together. Anyway, we used to like build these people artifacts as we controlled the zones that were ours by the justice they refused to allow to be meted without this sort of intervention. And, you know, I don't remember most of the artifacts. It's just sort of like a big statue in the center of town, except you can't fully get the point across with those. I think I always sort of wanted it to be like Ares, the god of war, to be this huge one. We had some talk that would be reminiscent of the Straits of Gibraltar kings. Like those were the biggest sort of statues of some sort of point like this. And, you know, they said those were carved out of the mountain, like you'll never get that done without carving them out of a mountain. But we were able to figure out some things, like we could put something like on the scale of that thing out there. And I forget, like, what artifacts we figured out, where it would be this monument of a testament to teaching those who lived there about military life being a reality. And usually we'd probably set them up so it says that's what it is here now and stuff like that. That's what you have here now. That's what it is here. Well, I got to watch my Nazi agenda, but I'm around one of these other points I was trying to make. I'm at a higher level point I'm building from. Like, this is how I figure out what I've forgotten. Like sort of like there's just sort of words on the tip of my tongue I'm losing, though. I forget who it was. Someone's lining up or trying to get into NATO. Well, we now have this list of countries who are committing collective coercion and force use to try to stop justice from being enforced. And this is sort of my point, how I see it sort of lining up all the way to these World War talks. There's been some talk of the next country in after the talk of the next country in, without it being clearly the same country. It sounds like there's going to be someone who wants to come in and try to stop this justice over the genocide from occurring. There's the false use of the courts again. I'm trying to remember. I don't have the charges clear, what's going on clear. Even like the governing body. I wonder who these governing bodies think they are. They have no ethos or logos. So the governing bodies are these examples of the collective will, where you can know who the collective is also, or start making the list. I've seen some drilling going on. There's some talk about some drilling, and they were doing the part where they're getting to the part where they're practicing the attacks. We don't usually just practice attacks. It sounded like they're starting to turn their drilling into just practicing attacks. There's some sort of report. They've reported something like there's going to be a whole lot more. I think it was forces on the next movement into Ukraine, or they're about to do something. So there's a whole lot more forces in Ukraine to fight on the Eastern Front, something like that. I've been trying to work on some terms to try to get this through to the normal people who don't speak the big college words and special politician words we speak. Unfortunately, I have it in popular media, but this is mostly going to break trying to get it to the Russians, and they're not the issue so much. It's sort of like Russia is Walker, Texas Ranger, and there's sort of this farm where they're like trying to totally kill off a type of plant, or they've totally killed off a type of plant, but usually, I don't have the exact terms, it's like they've totally killed off a new type of plant that might be able to be brought back. But once they've done that, you have to enforce, because they're usually going to try and do more, like kill off its parents, and the way they're totally gone. And it's sort of like Walker, Texas Ranger might be having to go and get the bad guys out of town. Sometimes I think those guys get to go to Mexico too. Like this one might be strange, like maybe he had to cross the Rio Grande. And it's sort of like they just went to get El Chapo, or they're like going to get El Chapo, but they didn't really know it was El Chapo. They're just going to protect the farm. Or if Walker's going to protect the farm. I'm trying to say this like it's a show. It's going to end up it's more than just Walker. It's going to take a bunch of Texas Rangers. And they sort of got to the town Tumbleweed in Mexico or something. And as it turns out, the government's been abandoned because things are so bad, and people just fill in by showing up to the office in the right clothes. And the acting mayor, the sort of fake acting mayor, has sort of made an official statement that the Rangers are committing crime by trying to save the farm. All right, that's probably enough. That's probably enough. My facetious way of trying to explain what's going on here. Lastly, I was trying to get down to this protocol, and I didn't do as good as I wanted on. Probably need for this face-to-face talk to also have like a compliment from each of the leaders there to each other. I usually have general things, like we really do have things in common, and I sort of give up like it's just almost futile to do, but it really proves the point. So we can get into these thoughts and get a lot more out of this than just sort of saying these basic blanket statements anyone in their right mind agrees with. It's good to have my health, or it's good you have your health while I have my health. It's good we're in good health. It's good to have good health. I mean, but sometimes we're mad at people, and maybe we're supposed to ask questions, but sometimes we don't have. It's like, I'm happy your family is healthy, or something sort of like that. I mean, there's a lot of terms like that. It's good when our families are doing good.